Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry, and I am at the Agua Mansa Cemetery. Now, I heard that this is one of the oldest cemeteries in California, in the city of Colton, which is right next to Riverside. So if you would like to walk with me through this cemetery, then we will both find out at the same time what they're talking about. Hope you like the tour. Here is a sign they have up front that tells you all about it. I don't know if you can read it, but if you want to pause this video, you might see if you can read more about it. They also have a website. If you search for Agua Mansa Cemetery, you'll find the website that'll tell more about it. As you can see, this is a very sparsely occupied cemetery. There's a bunch of gravestones up there, but it looks like there is a whole lot of land here that is available for a lot more grave sites. Maybe there's a reason why there's not more. Maybe they decided to stop the burials here for some reason. And I do believe it is a state historical site. Here is one dated 1904, if you can read that. Now, several of them are like this, where the gravestone has been knocked down, or maybe it was just from an earthquake or something, but that's what it is, and there is no other marking for this grave. This one too has beset some mishap. This one has a pipe fence around it. This one from 1918 has had a lot of problems over the years. Almost completely broken up. This one from 1918 has got these bricks around it. Now this one looks like it was recently redone. It's in really good shape. It's death dated 1918. Here's an interesting one. On this one, the lettering has been completely faded out. 1923 with an interesting surrounding. This one has a wooden cross and a built-in bottle here to put flowers in. With you can put water in it with your flowers. I think this is the back side, but even on the front side, whatever it said here has somehow been wiped out. This one has been completely broken off and removed. So I suppose somebody knows who's there. This one has a vase to put flowers on. 1926, I think. Some of these are really hard to read. This one has some artificial flowers under an old rugged cross. 1929. Now this one has something written in Spanish, which I don't know what that means. There's no date on it. And it has some artificial flowers and a cross as well. This one, all the lettering has been rubbed off. It just says Colton, California, and July 1934, I think is what it says. This one, the lettering has been rubbed off so much I cannot read it at all. But it's an interesting gravesite. Now this cross is sitting sideways to everything else here. And then here is one that's got a nice nameplate on it and a really strong barrier. I guess that is to keep the water out of it. And next to it is another one that cannot read it at all. And by the way, there's a whole lot of ant beds around this cemetery. You got to watch where you step. Now this one, wow, a spiked fence. I wonder what those spikes are supposed to keep out. And it's very hard to read. I do see 1940. Then right next to it is this one. I really can't read it. If you get down and scrub it off, I think you could. There's another section back here behind the cart track. Fairly good one. It says 1932. Rest in peace. This one is at rest, although the top of the headstone has been knocked off. And this one is sitting kilter. Must have been affected by one of California's famous earthquakes. Now they do have an office here that is open, and they charge $5 to get in. So there's someone here all the time during the day. And obviously they don't really have a program to restore these grave sites. I think they just want to leave them the way they were in the first place, which is fine by me. This one has gotten knocked over, I assume, by an earthquake. This one was cracked in the middle, but it was put back on. And another one right beside it, 1937. John Peters, 1882 to 1918, age 36 years. This one has been knocked over. The nice red granite. And by the way, right across the street here is an industrial complex of some sort. Here's a nice, interesting gravestone with grandparents, great-grandparents, children buried elsewhere, and children buried somewhere else or in this section of the cemetery. This one has been completely concreted over. This one has really been broken apart. And this one had a concrete barrier around it, which is broken up over there. And the headstone has been broken and removed. You can barely read some letters and a name there. Now here is the sprinkler head. Although there really is no grass here that is green, a lot of brown weeds, but there is no grass, so they don't do any mowing in this cemetery, which of course would be a nightmare for a mower. This one has a wooden cross and a few bricks. There's a concrete cross, 1934. Now this one, I guess the body is buried here in front of it, but right behind it is this concrete piece that looks like some things have been broken off. So I don't know if that's another grave or what. For this one, I would give it a nice try. There's a steel cross held on by bolts and nuts, but the grave doesn't say anything. This one's been covered over that says Balsa Perez. And there's one here that has nothing but one little piece of concrete, I think. And a lot of them are like this, broken headstones with no information at all as to who's here. Like this one, nothing to tell us who's here. Oh, wait a minute. This one says something, 1929. This one, nothing. And there is a cross that has been etched into there. This one doesn't say anything, has a concrete cross, and then right behind it is this, I don't know what you call it, above ground gravestone or a crypt, or got a big chunk taken out of the middle which is fallen down into it, but there's no words here for these two saying who's there. This one looks like gophers have taken over, and whatever headstone that was here is gone. And what you see here is all that's left of that one, except for the anthills. This one, the top is broken off and the lettering has worn off. This one you can read a little bit that says 45 years, 1922. This one has guardrails that are in really good condition. And this says 1919. Here's an interesting one that says 1916, Jose Lopez, and it has a stone that is shaped like a log of wood. I guess that meant something to the person. Maybe he was a logger. Here's an interesting one from 1916. It looks like the design as a scroll. There are a few pretty good sized trees here, and here's a couple graves right around this tree. There's some more trees over there. This one from 1907 has had a lot of damage as well. Looked like that top part fell off and just buried its way into the ground. Here's one from 1903 with a really large concrete lining around it. Looks like it was set for a lot of family members who just didn't show up. Well, maybe he still will later, who knows. These have some bricks around them that has suffered a lot of damage, and there is no information here on them. This one has a chain fence around it, and the gravestone, you can read a little bit of it, Florence Martinez. The year is below the soil there. This one has a post and a cross that doesn't say anything. And here's another one with some sort of a post and a couple bricks and whatever that is. So those, no information on. Right next to this one that had something else on top. I'm surprised I haven't seen any from the 1800s. This one is 1901. That's, I think, is the oldest I've seen. At Rest, Raphael Romo. 1905. It's broken up into several pieces. Matilda Ryu, something. Ochoa, but the top is broken off. And Pablo Trujillo, aged 49, but it does not say the burial date. There's a rugged old wooden cross next to this tree, and there's another cross here, another wooden cross here over this one. That doesn't say anything. A lot of bricks. This one I can't quite read it, but it was handwritten in the concrete as they were building that, and has some bricks around it next to just a plain wooden cross, which is another grave here. Nothing there. I'm about to the end of it, but let's go and see what this is. This has got a nice surrounding of a fence here, although no gate. Let's see what this says. 1886. Okay. Really broken apart. Almost looks like somebody tried to get out. 1884. and 1914. That may be another one in the middle there. And this was somebody's mother. And here's a grandfather, 1896, Francisco Alvarado. Says, "Blessed are the pure in heart." Well, I suppose he was. And next to that is just some individual stones. There's an old one, 1884, although it is in pretty good shape. That one may have been rebuilt. Now let's see what this one is. That's a very unusual gravestone. Let's see if it says anything on the front side. At rest. That's all it says. And then down here it says Manuel Acuna, 1841 to 1885. Well, that's it for my tour. But I'm going to go inside and talk to the person in the office there and see if I can get more information about the history of this cemetery. And if I do, I'll let you know. Well, I did find out some very interesting information in this museum. As it turns out, there are about 2,000 people buried here. And what looks like a lot of empty land is really just graves that have nothing at all over them to indicate that there's a grave here. And even, he said, when they put this blacktop driveway, there's graves underneath the driveway. And he said that they only have information on 900 of the people of the 2,000 that are buried here. And he said it's full. The reason why there's not any new graves is because this cemetery is full with its 2,000 or so people. And no one has been buried here since the early 1960s. So I find this very interesting. I'm somewhat of a cemetery buff. If you're not, I hope you've still enjoyed the tour through the cemetery. Oh, and by the way, he did say this is the oldest cemetery in the state of California. So if you're in the Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Riverside area, I would say it's worth a stop by. And you could actually spend a couple hours here going through and looking at all of the gravestones. It might be one of the most interesting cemetery in California, or at least Southern California. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Good day, folks. Here's a final overall view.